Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, Toronto. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Eddie Bullen to Rdioregent broadcast facilities. I'm Cool Breeze. My name is Curtis Anthony. We're going to have a good time today. We're here to talk to Eddie Bullen about the insights and the analysis of what the music is all about. Also chronicle the vibe and magnify his brilliance. Pleasure to have you here, my brother.
It's wonderful to be here. It's always wonderful to be
here. Thank you so much, man. I told somebody last night, a musician friend in the States, I said to him, Eddie Bullen should have been named Cool Breeze because he's so cool. He jumped at me, says, no. Eddie Bullen, you could call Eddie Bullen Cool Hand Luke. He said, Cool Breeze is already taken.
Well, I can deal with that.
All right. So how you been?
Wonderful.
How is Trey Michael and Quincy?
They are wonderful boys.
Man.
I can't ask for better children.
Man, I see Quincy in the summer throwing it down like he's just, like big man territory now.
He's like, I mean, you know your son. You've been around him forever. But I saw a show with him at Lula's Lounge the other day, and I was like, I'm really happy I'm his father. He was killing it, man.
Wow, man. And first, I got to get this out there. For the fans who are listening, local to global, Eddie Bullen is in the studio with the Cool Breeze Experience show. Eddie Bullen, when I started 3 years ago, gave me that push with radio. I called him and I said, Eddie, I got a show, and he was excited. And I said to Eddie, I need some artists to work with, to interview and get their stories out there. I got the list and I ran with it like a gazelle. And I'm eternally grateful for that. But this is how this started with Eddie Bullen with Thunderdome Studios giving Cool Breeze and the Air Candy Show DVD, because a lot of the artists I filter off to her.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. I say, give us a sense for where you grew up, for the fans who are listening.
Well, I grew up in Grenada, and my dad, I'll start where my dad was a big influence on me. He was a jazz musician himself, and eventually had a music store,
right.
Where, I was into, pianos, organs, guitars, drums were all my friends. However, I gravitated to the piano. He sent me for piano lessons, which I hated.
Look how it worked out.
Yeah, at a very young age.
Yeah.
But I think the turning point for me is there was a lunch period at school, and he just sold the school an organ, and I started to play one of the songs that I usually play, a popular calypso song, and it was a boys' school, and all the boys were gathered around the piano. And I thought, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I can use this to my advantage. So
okay.
That's where I started playing and really getting serious about learning new songs and learning music properly.
Right.
Because there was a lot of options. There were girls who were coming into the shop as well too, and that could be a big influence on a young man.
Yes.
So yeah.
Wow. What's a normal day for you outside of music like?
More music. More music. I love what I do, I spend time with my boys. We hang out. We play tennis,
right.
We go for dinners and lunches. We hang out together, and we speak a lot. And they tell me about their lives and, the different, if any challenges that they have, and we discuss that.
Right.
But primarily, I'm in my studio and I'm producing records for God knows whomever.
You recorded with hundreds of people.
Oh man, jeez. I think the last count I had, it was 210 albums. That I've done so far, and those are the ones that I could find, and those are the ones that were released, right?
Right.
So there are several albums or things that you've done, and they were just demos, and it didn't get released. So,
okay.
So anyway, those are the ones that I can find.
All right. When you first got the sweet taste of success with music, what was that like for you? Take us there.
Yeah, well, there were a couple of periods, I think the very first time that I heard my song on the radio, or one of the songs that I was co-writer of. That was an amazing experience.
Right.
And that was Liberty Silver.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was Demo Cates. Demo Cates
Okay.
I did a track for Demo, and it was playing on CHFI and a couple of other stations at the time, and I was so happy. I did that in my bedroom.
Wow.
And then eventually I moved on to Liberty Silver, and then I produced a guy called Michael Vincent, and then I moved on to Hands Up, Baby Hands Up. I did a thing with a gentleman by the name of Carl Harvey.
Yes, amazing guitar player.
Yeah, man,
Wow.
and that was really cool. Yeah, and Carl Outway too was on that record. So it was it was wonderful to hear that on the radio. I mean, you calling up your friends and saying, "Listen, man, I was one of the producers on that thing," and so things like that. And then eventually, then my stuff started playing on the radio. I'd hear it. People would call me. I remember getting a call from Brazil and saying, "Listen, man, I heard your song on my plane ride back. They had it on the in-flight entertainment system, and so that was amazing to me."
Mm-hmm.
And and then they started picking up in the U.S. and so those were really
High point.
Oh yeah, high points. And then I started getting gigs from that. So those things, you evolve over time.
Right. Tell the fans about the vibrant music scene in Toronto in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I think that was the genesis of some of the great moments I've had with my life and had with musicians as well too. Back in the 80s, there was a band called Age of Reason. Age of Reason, and I was in a band called and we started by a guy called Washington Savage.
I heard of him.
Yeah, Washington was an amazing piano player, and Washington and myself were brothers that we just met, and we was like, stuck on each other. If you see Washington, you'd probably see me coming around the corner, and if you see me, you'd see Washington. We were together, we lived together, we played together. There were other musicians in that group, Ettrick Lyons, who's a dear friend of mine as well, too, a bass player.
All right.
Another guy called Julian Brown, who his uncle is Joe Brown, who used to play with the Trade Winds and play with Ralph McDonald and all those guys. And then my brother Johnny Bullen was in the band. Mm-hmm. So and we often played on a lot of the clubs. It was the Copa and Blue Note and the Network and PWD. So we did a lot of those things, and then we started opening up for Liberty Silver. So Liberty was part of the that young, vibrant young musicians, and we were pretty crazy back in the days, but we all played at a very high standard. Like Washington was a keyboard player as well too, fantastic keyboard player. So that's one of the things that drew us together. However, he was a lead vocalist in the band, and we, and I mean, and there were several different musicians. Orrin Isaacs was around at that time. Wilson Lawrence and George St. Kitts, Aubrey Mann, and that whole Eglinton Avenue. There were lots of people doing records. George from Monica's were doing a lot of records. Like another guy called Bunny Gemini, who I
heard of him.
Yeah, I worked a lot with Bunny. Bunny used to do a lot of shows, and he'd bring artists in and do shows. So I was able to work with a lot of Jamaican artists, where I produced and remixed a lot of stuff for them.
Right.
So the 80s was a very vibrant time, and you did a lot of work on the road too. You would travel to God knows where. I was in Sherbrooke, Quebec, then the Laurentians, then Sarnia.
You've seen Canada.
Oh yeah,
You've seen Canada.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Eddie, can you throw a few names of artists who really changed the landscape of music in Canada? Yeah,
I think Dan Hill was one of the first guys, I think, that in terms of, I grew up with, and not knowing that he was Canadian. I mean, he lives not too far from here. He was one of the guys. With regards to, younger musicians, one that comes to mind is Lorna Lewis, who is been I've had the pleasure of working with him and working with him on his new record, producing his new record, which I'm very proud of. There's Otis Williams, who's another drummer. Actually, Lionel's brother, who's an amazing drummer, Ricky Lewis, who plays with The Weeknd as well too.
Oh.
Right. So and you have people like Bruce Skerritt and there's a gentleman who he's an American, but he sort of cut his teeth in Toronto. His name of Mishka Butler, and Mishka. He's a vocal coach now in Los Angeles. He just did Britney Spears' CD. He worked on Michael Jackson's CD. He wrote with Michael Jackson. He worked extensively with Rdioregent. So he was one of the guys back in the day who was one of the guys who grew up with us.
Right.
I don't know. And there's several different. People. Ralph Robinson, actually from Trinidad, but spent a lot of time here, and I did 2 of his records. So I think those are people who added to the mosaic of.
All right. Okay. You were last here a year ago.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. You see how time flies, and I know you had a lot going on since.
Yes.
Canada 150th tour. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, that was the tour in China you're talking about. Yeah. Well, that was amazing. That was amazing. You got to travel. I like myself, Otis Williams, Rob Christian, and Andrew Short. We got to travel to 10 different cities across China, and that was really eye-opening. I must say, when the guys were initially summoned to go, they were a bit apprehensive, because you hear, you don't know what's happening, what are you going to eat, where, so they were, Eddie, we're sure of this, and I'm like, yes, don't worry. And I remember on the plane coming back, they go, Eddie, we want to do this again. We love this. This was an amazing experience, and we want to do it again. So yeah, I mean, we went to like 10 different cities, played in beautiful theaters to packed audiences. Each theater was about no less than 1,000-seater.
Okay.
And to packed house, and it was all beautiful. We had beautiful hotels. They took care of us. They fed us, and we had some time to explore China.
Nice.
So we did that, and actually we're getting ready to go back next year.
Okay.
In October.
And Canada's birthday 150th tour in Canada. How was that?
That was wonderful as well too. Yeah, I did that with my son, dueling pianos.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was actually amazing. It's wonderful to travel with your offspring.
Yes.
You can, and then we're sitting facing each other, and playing at a high level.
Right.
I mean, what more can a father ask for?
True,
what I mean?
quite true.
Because sometimes your offspring can veer off into
the cosmos.
Yeah, where sometimes you're not fond of.
Yes.
So for me, that is amazing. Every time I look at him and we hang out.
Yeah.
We'll get up in the morning and we go to, we'll go for breakfast and we'll hang. So it's not like a father-son relationship. It's more like a bit of a mentor, but a brother relationship.
Right.
And he'd ask me things. I mean, I remember we were in Montreal, and we were just hanging out on the street, and we walked into this little music store, and he saw this keyboard, and he loved it, and he goes, Dad, what do you think? And I was like, just buy it. So he bought it, and they shipped it back to Toronto by the time we were back. You know what I mean? So it's just wonderful.
Yeah. No, you did the Beaches Jazz Festival.
Yes.
Father and son, the Canada 150th birthday tour. Caribbean Jazz Collective, man. I was there. I was running some film. I said, these guys got to get a CD cut.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I mean,
busy.
I always say I built it and they came.
Right.
So I mean, I kind of struggled to build my studio, but it was all enjoyable.
Right.
And now, it's just for me to get in there. It's challenging.
Yeah, because I tell people you have to go and see the Caribbean Jazz Collective, man. The music is just off the chain.
Yeah.
The performance.
It's a great concept too. You know what I mean? And all the guys are again, wonderful players. The last time we played, we had a young man by the name of Jeremy Hector, who was visiting from Grenada, and he sat in with us, and that was pretty amazing, you know. So it's people from the Caribbean who who love Caribbean rhythms, and what we try to do is to take you on a journey throughout the whole Caribbean, from the north right down to the south, and just explain the different types of rhythms, and you know, I think some of the rhythms and the genres of the music of the Caribbean transcend borders. You know,
it does.
I've spent some time in Brazil, and reggae is massive in Brazil. China is a growing thing, and yeah, it's I think what Harry Belafonte says it's the world's radical song.
It is, yes, the reggae. And you played also in the Kensington Jazz Festival.
Yeah, that was
how was that?
That was wonderful. I mean, I don't get a chance to play solo piano that much.
Yeah.
But you know, Molly Johnson insisted that, you know, I be a part of the solo piano evenings at Tom's place, and that was wonderful. You know, we had a nice packed house there, and I did that, and I also played with an ensemble, and Quincy actually, who plays guitar now, you know, joined me with my my quartet.
Yeah, I was there in the park.
Yeah.
Him and your younger son, we were rolling tape, and what blew me away was your bass player, Andrew Stewart. I saw the guy with Tony Pierre's group. What's the name of that group? Calabash, and he was ripping out some bass. The Andrew I used to see him, he just standing doing his thing, and when he does his solo, but he just went off. I go, what the heck? And then when you guys went into the park, he was just throwing it out there in the cosmos, man. I go, yes. Yeah. I had a feeling like he was holding back there for me, man.
Yeah.
But that was good. But what we got to talk about is the smooth jazz boat ride. I was joking with you a year ago. I said, Eddie, in time to come, people won't be able to get on that boat. You're going to need a bigger boat. And I saw it this year, man. It was just unreal. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty scary, man. You know, like 2 weeks before the cruise, man, the tickets were going, and people were saying, listen, you better save me 4 tickets, better save me 10 tickets. And what will happen is a person would buy 1 ticket, and they'll mention to another person, and then that person, and then, you know, and just so on. And I was a bit concerned, you know, that I wasn't being able to feed everybody. But
I remember that.
But my caterer, he was just a rock. He says, Eddie, you don't worry, I'll have food for everybody, and I'll have seconds. And that was so comforting for me.
Yeah, I remember I called you that Friday morning because I was off that 2 weeks. I take that 2 weeks off. I said, Eddie, I have some last minute people that insist that they get on this boat ride, and you preached that same story for me. I said, Eddie, if I have to cook at home and bring some food in my car truck to supplement, so be it, because these people are they so wanted to be on that boat ride.
Yeah.
The atmosphere was unbelievable. The music was unbelievable. It was just, man.
Yes, I mean, it has blossomed into a wonderful evening of, you know, we say in the Caribbean, it's a big people fed, or a cruise, you know, but and that's what I try to do. You know, it's my sort of offering to all the artists that I've had the pleasure or given me the chance to work with them.
Yes.
You know, so I could just spend an evening and just enjoy them, and have them, you know, have the audience enjoy them as well too, as I did for many years. So you know, it's a thing that has like I said, it has grown, and I think next year I may have to have a
bigger boat,
or maybe 2 cruises.
Yeah.
But you know, and the folks who own the cruise, the boat, they absolutely love it, and you know, they said this is one of the only cruises that we look forward to every year,
which is good.
So it's again, those things are comforting to me.
Yeah, I remember the cruise before. not summer 2017. I had such a good time. Videotaped that thing, and I came home. It took me 3 days to decompress from that concert. I felt like I was playing in the band and enjoying. It's just unreal, man.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I must say, you know, I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like any little thing. It was a little nucleus,
Yes.
and it's, you know, it became a little embryo, and now it's a big child.
Yes.
That, you know, everybody's part of.
Right, right. Eddie, I must ask you. Some musicians say there's no music industry. That's a myth. How does that enhance or enlighten your perspective?
Well, the thing is, the music industry has evolved and
Right.
changed, and you have to, as a musician, you have to really mine a lot of the changes. You know, you cannot stay on the sidelines.
Quite true.
Because
Quite true.
you will not understand how different it is from like 10 years ago. It's the thing is, you must remember that we were one of the first industries to be hit with the digital explosion with regards to, you know, file sharing.
Right.
For example, Napster, and, you know, so our legs, the music industry legs, were one of the very first visible ones to get cut off. You know, and I remember those days when, you know, people weren't coming into the studio to record CDs anymore, because why? They're not selling. You know, you put out one CD and somebody in Russia takes it and sells it for $2. So that, you know,
Struggle with that.
so that's trying, but with technology, it takes about 10 years to get the rules and regulations in place to govern new technology, and it just hasn't settled as yet. You know, it evolves over time. So you have streaming services now, which have now drastically diminished. You know, plagiarism, because you can pay a monthly fee like your Rogers box and get access to a lot of songs. So the music industry is still vibrant, but you just have to mine, you know, your return of investment.
Yes. Well said. Eddie, what is your experience working with Kingsley Etienne, David Rudder, Dee Bridgewater, and Melba Moore? What was that like?
Well, they all are different. Kingsley was a mentor of mine, and, you know, I saw Kingsley when I was like 14, 15 years old, and he was playing his butt off, and that was a paradigm shifting moment for me.
Okay.
Dee Bridgewater, I played with Dee in China and hung out with Dee, and she's a riot. And she was very easy to work with. You know, sometimes when you work with artists, they are very particular about
Yes.
a lot of things.
Yes.
However, Dee was never that way. You know,
Right.
and David was amazing to work with. I've worked with him several times, and, you know, he's a true professional. He'll come into the studio. He's a very serious guy,
Right.
who knows his stuff, and, you know, try to get the best performance.
Nice.
You know, and most of the artists that I work with, you know, I always try to have a really relaxed atmosphere in the studio.
Yes, you have to.
You know, so that you can get the best performance from them.
Yes.
And have them trust you. You know, sometimes artists come in with particular ideas of what they want. You know, that actually happened to me this week. You know, I had an artist working with a drummer from, which I have to introduce to. His name is Rico.
Nice.
Rico Anthony.
I met him. I
Right.
saw him. Yes.
So
Amazing.
we're doing some tracks, and, you know, he labored over some of the arrangements, and he wanted it to work with some of the overdubs, but it wasn't working. And then eventually he said, "Eddie, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, we veto all these things here." And then, you know, he went and played, and it blossomed. So I think for me, it's just having artists, you know, trust my decisions, you know, whether it be in a studio or live.
All right. Eddie, how do you make a hit and make it timeless?
Well, that is, there are ways to sort of narrow it or skew it to a certain place. It's experience too, and it's having a catalog in your mind of things that work with different compositions.
Right.
However, that doesn't guarantee you a hit.
True.
You know, so
Okay.
you have it's that arrangement plus timing. You know, just being in the right place or just doing something that. And I'll give you an example. When I put out my last record, Desert Rain, everybody in the industry always says, "Listen, you never put out a record around the Christmas period." Why? Because radio doesn't look at it; they look at Christmas songs,
Yes.
right? And the recording industry shuts down primarily. I did that. I said, well, you know, I'll put out my record at November 15th. So I put my record out November 15th, and by February, it was number 5 on Billboard, right? Mardi Gras. And I think what happening is it was just right in front of the line in terms of all the new releases, and it was able to get, when all the programmers know they have had their Christmas rest, they come in with fresh ears, and I think that really helped. Anyway, that's my assumption of it. So,
all right.
in terms of you know, making or composing a song and making sure that it's going to be a hit, you don't know. It's just timing.
Right. Eddie, do musicians still have a cabaret card or today a union card?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. The union is a very integral part.
Okay.
I mean, for a musician. Yeah. And it's the AFFM. They you pay your union dues, and you can also there's a pension fund as well too.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Right,
Yeah.
which really does come in handy, you know, when you get to a certain age, and or if you have issues. I mean, there are also perks, you know. For example, my son is in the union, and he's gotten a great rate on his car insurance because the union has because you belong to a group, you get a group rate, and so there are a lot of perks. And I always encourage musicians wherever you are to investigate the union, because it'll help in terms of negotiations and contracts and rules and regulations. Like a lot of times, people who are just getting into the industry usually don't know what the rules and regulations are with regards to payment for services and how that works.
You get into trouble.
Yeah, so when you're quoting a job, you can just say, "Listen, I'll take union rates."
Yeah.
And this is the criteria that the union has set up over a period of time.
Right, Eddie. How do you ignite innovation with music?
Well, you know what? I think it really starts with the music. I mean, we're in a world. For example, when you think of the Renaissance period, it was the art that really defined that period.
Right.
So I think, the musician is the one that really drives a lot of change in the world. You look at a person like Bob Marley, who was influential in bringing two political parties together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you look at a thing like that. You look at what music did with the whole apartheid movement. It was musicians that came together.
Yeah.
For example, there's a gentleman who really spearheaded that movement. Is a guy called Randall Robinson.
Okay.
And when he was asking actually a lot of artists to do it, and everybody was kind of shunning away from it. And he said he asked Michael Jackson, and when they asked Michael said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So once Michael did something, then everybody came back and supported. So in terms of artists, I think they have a role. They're pretty much the gatekeepers of a lot of social and sometimes political gates.
Right. Eddie, what's your analysis on an artist winning awards every year, and better musicians out there and just getting nominated and so on?
Well, that is a thing where it depends on whether it's judged by artists of your peers or judged by fans, and there are different different award organizations that will do that differently. So there's the Fan Award, which is, for example, the American Music Awards is a fan-based thing, and whereas the Grammys are judged by your peers. So it's that kind of judging criteria that a lot of people use. So I think if you are a good artist, especially these days with the social media fabric of what we are in, you will pretty much rise to the top. There are a lot of artists who are doing really well, and they're not they're like a household name. Right. So I think with the event of social media now, I think it gives every artist a platform to shine.
Good. Eddie, let me ask you about the technical difficulties involved in hitting so many notes on a keyboard and being in tune at the same time when you really get down with the gig.
Listen, that's a lot of math, boy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I mean, with every instrument, like yes. With the wind instrument, you have to be breathing properly and then playing these notes and lipping properly. So there's, with piano players, it's just having dexterity and being able to, master the whole instrument. For example, in my case, as a piano player, you can play solo piano, which is that you're playing bass, you're playing harmonic structure, and you're playing the melody at the same time. So that is like three. You have the whole orchestra, the whole band under your fingers, and that is a task. Back in the day, there was a thing called stride piano.
Yes.
Where guys like Art Tatum and Finas Newborn would just murder this thing. Oscar Peterson, and that is it's a thing that a lot of musicians or a lot of piano players don't really do that much these days, because usually you play with a trio or a quartet.
Right.
However, just mastering that is challenging. So it's I think it's commendable that somebody can sit down and entertain you all evening, just on a piano. And that is not hard. That's not easy. That's a very challenging task.
Right. Eddie, what is the biggest lesson you learned about the music, and how did that help you navigate yourself through the industry?
Well, you know what it is? It's called the music business. And there are two components of it. And sometimes artists need a manager and an agent, because that's the business side of it. Usually artists don't want to deal with the business side of it. Listen, let me just write the song and you deal with the business. However, sometimes that comes back and bite you in the butt. For example, Billy Joel, that happened to Billy Joel. Yes. Where his manager he went into the safety deposit box and just found a lot of IOUs, and he was broke. So
he made a lot of money.
Yeah, he made a lot of money. So it's I always tell the artists, and I think today's artists have a little more knowledge of a bit of how the industry works than prior. So I think with the launch of YouTube, I think you can find a lot of things. However, being a composer or a lyricist, it's so rewarding that you tend not to pay any attention to the business side of it, And as an artists, they can't live in that world,
right. Right.
So they'd always have to have someone to take care of them. As for me, because I think I have a business, I have to put. I have to put my foot on both sides of the border and really try and understand it. And there are times when there's some things that I don't understand still. You know what I mean? And I have to have them explain to me, and I have people that I reach to get that, because it changes. Like
yes.
From one week it'll change to the next week.
Wow.
That's how the industry is moving right now.
You got to be real sharp.
Yeah, so for me, what I do is I go to for example, a Canadian Music Week, and I will go to Indie Week, and just sharpen my knowledge of what the industry is and how it's going to move, and just sometimes get stats. You know, there's, for example, Nielsen has always have a panel on what people are listening to and which platform.
Right. What is your concept of composition when you write a piece of music?
Well, you know, sometimes I start playing chords.
Okay.
For me, I love nice chord changes.
Yes.
And I'll start playing chord changes, and then I'll start coming up with melodies. I'll hear melodies in my head from the chord changes.
Okay.
And sometimes I co-write with people, and they'll come up with a melody, and I can put some beautiful chord changes to it,
Right.
so that we can co-write.
Okay. When you look back at the Eddie Bullen legacy, what's the one thing you're most proudest of?
Jeez, boy. You ask some tough questions. Well, I think what it is just, in terms of the legacy, is just being there for artists in time of need. You know, there's so many artists that will call me and ask me different questions and just need help in terms of navigating the industry or some kind of technical issue that they're having, or in terms of producing. I mean, that happens a lot, you know, as being a producer who was able to, you know, shine a light to that path, so that to get them to the end of the runway.
Right on. Eddie, where can your music be purchased?
Actually, Amazon, CD Baby,
Right.
iTunes, streaming on Apple Music, and streaming on Spotify as well. You know,
Right.
just my name, Eddie Bullen.
Where can they find you on social media?
My Facebook is just Eddie Bullen. My Instagram account is Eddie Bullen Official.
Okay.
I have Twitter, Eddie Bullen again, and I think YouTube, you know, Eddie Bullen,
Right.
and my website eddiebullen.com is yeah, that's it.
and for the fans out there, Eddie Bullen produced the latest Colette Easy
CD. Yeah.
CD. Oh, it is slamming, man. They're loving it down in the States.
Oh yeah, that's a great CD. Actually, I did another lady by the name of Sonia JC. She's a gospel CD, and really, really cool.
Nice.
And you'll have Jeremy Hector as well. I just finished his CD.
Okay, we gotta get that. We gotta get that in the machine here playing. Eddie, it's been an honor and pleasure having you on the Cool Breeze Experience show. Thank you for stopping by Rdioregent on the Cool Breeze Experience. Thanks for showing your love to the city, which manifests in our greatness, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This
Thank
is Eddie
you.
Bullen.
Thank you so
Cool
much.
Breeze, don't put any deodorant on the funk.